This unusual gold mine was a big undertaking. A mountain had to be built to bring this newest addition to the many attractions at Knott's Berry Farm. It is the only one of its kind, and while the Calico Mine is designed for fun, anyone riding through it will encounter the sights and sounds to be found in a trip beneath the surface of the earth. In the depths of the Calico Mine are authentic reproductions of early mining techniques used in the real mines of the Comstock. Every detail is authentic. This donkey engine is just like the real thing. The passengers ride in 5 wooden plank mine cars strung out behind the engine. Our engineer on this trip will be Bud Hurlbut, a man who knows a lot about the history of mining and who played an important part in designing and building the Calico. The mine cars are loaded and away we go. A miner finds a trace of gold on the side of the mountain and begins to dig. As he follows the vein into the mountain, his strike becomes a mine. This entry tunnel has been shored up to keep rocks and shale from falling on the miners. Remember, the men who dig tunnels like this were following a vein of gold, so when the vein turned, the tunnel turned also. As miners followed the elusive yellow gold, it wasn't unusual for their tunnel to break suddenly through a crust into an underground cavern, like this one. This cavern-like room formed by Mother Nature is alive with steam pressures. Huge mud pots, each in a different color, belch bubbles of live steam. This natural display, with its magnificent colors of red, blue, green, and amber, is truly breathtaking. But to the miners, this live steam is only another source of possible danger. As our train takes us even deeper, we approach one of the most important digging locations in any gold mine. This is the very heart of the mine. It's called the Glory Hole. This gigantic pit dug out of the bowels of the earth is called the Glory Hole because gold was found here in such abundance that this one location could be worked for some time. In pits like this, men of every nationality worked unbelievably hard, under the baleful, ever-watchful eye of the gang boss. When all else was equal, the man in charge was usually the man who could outfight anyone else in the crew. These 3 miners are cutting heavy timbers for shoring up some of the new shafts and working ledges as the Glory Hole keeps increasing in size. Miners like these work long hours. Very often in the winter months, they might never see the light of day. The old-timers worked hard. Miners always lied to each other about the biggest nugget they'd ever found, but none of their whoppers ever came close to the nugget actually found in Carson Hill near Angel's Camp. It was one massive piece of gold weighing 195 pounds and valued at $73,710. In any mine, the Glory Hole was always a beehive of activity. A visitor could stand in one place and be able to see many different phases of gold mining. Some of the ore was dug right up with a shovel, loaded into one of Studebaker's famous wheelbarrows, and then was taken out of the mine to be processed. But most of the ore wasn't that easy to get. When solid rock barred the way, dynamite was used. First, the miners drilled a hole deep into the face of the rock. A stick of dynamite was inserted, and then it was tamped back into the drilled hole, as you see here. After the charge was set off, the rocks were loaded onto ore cars, pushed out of the mine, and sent on their way to the mills. From the floor of the glory hole, miners pursued that magic yellow mineral up and across in almost every direction. If the diggings were good, a miner would work his way right into the side of the mountain, making sure of preventing a cave-in by shoring up loose rocks on the way. And above him in the glory hole, you might have seen another miner following his vein of yellow. As he worked in the flickering light of his candle, he loaded the treasure-bearing rocks into waiting ore cars. Sometimes the miners went up so high in the glory hole, they had to lower the ore down in buckets to where there were cars to take it out of the mud. The figures of these miners in the glory hole stand immovable and silent. Even so, they've told us a lot about gold mining and the mining men they symbolize. Most people don't realize it, but there are many underground rivers and lakes. Miners working deep in the subterranean recess of a mountain have often broken through a wall, and there before them lay a tranquil body of water. In some of these lakes, fish have been found who were totally blind. They didn't need eyes in the absolute darkness of their underground home. Those miners are not panning for gold. They've been mining back in the tunnel, and they've come to the lake to wash out a pan and check the quality of the ore. Some underground lakes date back centuries before Columbus discovered America. The progress of their growth in the silent darkness of their subterranean domain can be traced by the watermarks etched on the stone walls. In direct contrast to the quiet stillness of an underground lake can be the wild, unrelenting surge of a subterranean river. That roar we hear ahead is the thunder of a waterfall. Who knows from what depths of the earth this torrent came, and who can say where it is going in its mad, headlong dash? Perhaps somewhere hidden in the depths of our planet is a huge lake, larger than any we have on the surface. As our train rounds a curve, we arrive at the bottom of the mine. Supposedly, we are now at the 3,000-foot level. Eventually, perhaps this mine will go much deeper. We can see how the miners are bringing up a bucket of ore from the shaft, which is already reaching deeper. But even 3,000 feet would be impossible without these square timbers. This is an accurate reproduction of square-set timbering, as invented by Philip Diedesheimer. In 1860, Diedesheimer perfected square-set timbering to eliminate cave-ins. And even though he was laughed at and scoffed at in the beginning, ridicule turned to glowing praise, and he was eventually known as the savior of the Comstock. His unique invention made mining safe even at deeper levels. Hard rock mining changed gold production figures from millions of dollars to hundreds of millions. Without square-set timbering, many mines still operating today would have been abandoned a century ago. Possible for miners tunneling their shaft into a mountain to break through a wall unexpectedly and find themselves standing in an immense cavern, like this. This mining device is called called a winze, W-I-N-Z-E. Miners used it as a do-it-yourself elevator to pull buckets of ore from one level to another. The bucket simply slid up or down on the timber rails. We passed the glory hole again, this time from the top level, looking down. From this marvelous high vantage point, we swing around a curve and cross over a trestle, while under us, miners work a stope leading up and out of the glory hole. That pounding ahead is the deafening clatter of ore coming down a chute into a mine car. The brightness of sunlight ahead, and high on the side of the mountain, we emerge into the open. Our train takes us between two gigantic waterfalls. We circle beneath a rock ledge and re-enter the mountain. The glory hole, this time from the middle level, and this view gives us a completely different perspective of the immense pit. As we move ahead, we pass a side digging. This is something you almost always find in a mine. This one is being used as a storeroom for dynamite. On the workbench, we can see where the men have been inserting the fuses, so we know that blasting is going on somewhere in this area. As careful as miners are with explosives, accidents have been known to happen, so we must proceed cautiously. That's the blasting warning. A charge of dynamite is about to be set off, and we're too far into the tunnel to stop.
I did like that board.
I didn't know there was Chinese miners.
I feel as though we've been through a real gold mine.